The space station was noisy, full of voices, strange smells, and flashing lights. Michael kept his head down as he walked through the crowded market. His ship was damaged after a storm in deep space, and he needed a replacement power core fast. Without it, he would be stuck here, an unfriendly place for a lone human. He passed stalls selling glowing fruits, mechanical arms, and cages with alien animals. Some of the creatures stared at him with curious eyes, others hissed or hid. Michael had no time for sightseeing. He had credits in his pocket and a single goal: to get the part and leave. But as he turned into a narrow, dimly lit corridor between two old shops, something stopped him. It was a sound, a soft, almost musical meowing. Not from a cat he knew, cats from Earth, but something more human. Then came a whisper in a language he didn't understand. High-pitched and trembling, Michael followed the sound. Moving deeper into the shadows, the noise of the market faded, replaced by the hum of hidden machinery. He stepped over broken crates and scattered wires. Then, behind a half-open storage door, he saw them, two small figures, curled close to each other, but not touching. Both had long furry ears shaped like a cat's, swaying slightly with every breath. Their tails were wrapped around their bodies, their big eyes glowing faintly in the dark. They looked young, maybe no older than human teenagers, but their features were clearly alien, skin smooth with a soft shimmer, hair long and wild. One had silver hair with icy blue eyes, the other deep black hair with golden eyes that shone like suns. The moment they saw Michael, they froze. The silver-haired one's ears flattened, her hand tightening on a small metal rod. The black-haired one hissed softly, a sound that sent chills up his spine. They were scared, but also ready to fight. Michael raised his hand slowly. "Easy. I'm not here to hurt you," he said in a calm voice. They exchanged a quick look, then the silver-haired girl spoke in broken English. "Go away." Human. Her tone was sharp, but he could hear fear in it. Behind him, voices from the market drifted closer. "They were seen near here," a deep voice said. "If we find them, we'll be rich." Another voice laughed. Michael realized instantly what was happening. These girls were being hunted. He stepped inside the storage room, shutting the door behind him. "They're looking for you," he whispered. Both girls glared at him suspiciously. "Why you care?" the black-haired one asked, her tail flicking. Michael didn't have a good answer. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the memory of his younger sister back on Earth. But he knew he couldn't leave them. He crouched down, keeping his distance. "What's your names?" he asked softly. They didn't reply. Instead, the silver-haired one said, "We are Filari." "You don't touch Filari." Michael remembered hearing that name before. The Filari were rare cat-like humanoids known for agility, beauty, and danger. Owning one was illegal in most systems. But that didn't stop black markets from selling them. Suddenly, the market alarm blared outside, sharp, repeating tones that made the air vibrate. The girl's eyes widened. "They know." The black-haired one whispered. Michael knew if the hunters got here, these two wouldn't stand a chance. "Follow me," he said, moving toward the door. But they didn't move. Instead, they turned on each other, glaring, tails lashing. "She will slow us down," the black-haired one spat, pointing at the other. "I don't need him if she comes," the silver-haired one shot back. Michael blinked, confused. Even now, they were more focused on hating each other than escaping. Outside, the sound of heavy boots was getting closer. He didn't have time to convince them one by one. Michael stepped forward quickly, grabbing both by the hands. Their claws dug into his skin, but he didn't let go. "Fight later," he growled. "Run now." He dragged them through the corridor, weaving between crates and machinery. The pounding of boots followed, shouts echoing through the metal walls. Michael led them to a small side hatch, his shortcut to the docking bay. The girls stumbled but kept up, their tails swishing nervously. They reached his ship, the Silver Hawk, just as the first hunter turned the corner. A tall alien with gray skin and sharp teeth raised a weapon. Michael shoved the girls inside and fired the ship's side blaster. Forcing the hunter to dive for cover, the hatch slammed shut, engines roaring to life. Inside the cockpit, the girls stood on opposite sides, glaring at each other as if they were enemies trapped in the same cage. Michael was sweating, his hands moving over the controls. Outside, more hunters appeared, but the Silver Hawk lifted off before they could fire. Through the small window, Michael saw the market shrinking below, the lights fading into the black of space. Finally, there was silence except for the steady hum of the ship's engines. Michael turned to the girls. "You're safe for now," he said. The silver-haired one crossed her arms. "Safe. Only until she tries something," the black-haired one hissed. "I should be the one with you." "Not her," Michael sighed. He had no idea what he had just gotten himself into, but deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The Silver Hawk drifted through the cold darkness of space. Inside the ship, the silence was heavy, but it wasn't peaceful. On one side of the small cabin stood the silver-haired Filari girl, arms crossed, ears twitching at every sound. On the opposite side, the black-haired Filari girl leaned against the wall, tail flicking sharply. They didn't look at each other, only at Michael, as if both were waiting for him to choose a side. Michael ignored their stares and focused on the ship's navigation screen. He had plotted a course to a quiet moon where he could hide and repair his damaged systems, but the radar still showed a blinking red dot. Something was following them. He didn't say anything yet, not until he knew how close the danger was. Finally, the silver-haired girl broke the silence. "Why you take her too?" she asked coldly, nodding toward the other. The black-haired one's golden eyes narrowed. "Because without me, you'd be a trophy in some cage already." Michael sighed. "Both of you were in trouble. I wasn't going to leave one behind." That only made them glare at each other harder. It was clear to Michael now. They didn't just dislike each other. They hated each other. He tried to change the topic. "What are your names?" After a long pause, the silver-haired one said, "Lena," her voice low and guarded. The black-haired one smirked slightly. "Sorry," she replied, as if daring him to forget. Michael nodded. "All right, Lena and Sari, here's the deal. We're heading somewhere safe, but I need you both to stay calm." "Safe with her?" Lena muttered, shaking her head. "Better than safe with you," Sari shot back. Their voices rose, tails swishing furiously. Michael finally turned in his seat. "Enough. You want to fight. You can do it after we're not being chased." That made them both pause. "Chased?" Lena asked, her ears tilting forward. Michael tapped the screen, showing the blinking red dot getting closer. "Someone put a tracker on this ship," he said. Both girls stiffened, and immediately their eyes went to each other. "You did it," Lena accused, stepping forward. Sari hissed, "Liar, it was you," in a flash. They were nose to nose, claws half extended. Michael stepped between them, his voice sharp. "Neither of you had time to plant anything, so stop." Still, he knew it was bad. If the tracker was active, whoever was after them could find them. Unaware, he grabbed a scanner and started checking the ship. The girls followed him reluctantly, still throwing insults under their breath. The tracker was hidden deep in a cargo panel near the engine room. Michael yanked it out, a small silver disc no bigger than a coin. Still blinking. "This is advanced," he muttered. "Military grade." Lena's eyes widened slightly. "That means they won't stop, not until..." She didn't finish the sentence, but the look in her eyes was enough. Michael crushed the tracker under his boot, sparks scattering across the floor. For a moment, there was silence again. Then the ship's alarm blared, "Proximity alert." The AI voice said. Michael rushed back to the cockpit. The red dot on the radar was now much closer. "They must have our jump signature," he said under his breath. Sari leaned over his chair. "I can help," she said suddenly. Lena scoffed. "You? You'd crash us into a sun." Sari bared her teeth. "I've piloted ships since before you could walk." Michael looked between them. Arguing wasn't an option anymore. If you both want to survive, you'll have to work together," he said firmly. It took a long moment, but finally they gave short nods. Michael gave Lena the navigation controls. Her quick reflexes could plot escape jumps faster than he could. Sari went to the engine room to boost the shields and reroute power. The whole ship vibrated as they pushed the systems harder than ever. The pursuing vessel appeared on the rear camera, a sleek black ship with sharp predatory lines. It fired. A warning shot, the energy blast rocking the Silver Hawk. Lena's hands flew over the controls, sending them into a sharp roll. Michael gripped the seat. "Hold on, Sari. I need more power now." Her voice came through the com. "You've got it." And the ship surged forward. They darted between asteroids, the black ship weaving behind them. Lena plotted a short jump to a nearby nebula. If they could hide there, the enemy might lose them. "Jump in 3, 2, 1. Lena pressed the command, and space twisted around them. When they emerged, they were deep inside a glowing purple cloud of gas. The sensors flickered, the enemy signal vanishing from the radar. Michael let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Lena leaned back, smirking slightly. "Told you I could do it." Sari's voice crackled through the com. "You only did it because I kept the shields from frying." Michael shook his head. "You both did good, but we're not safe yet." Before they could argue again, the ship's console beeped. An incoming transmission flashed on the screen. Audio only. A cold, deep voice spoke. "Michael Cross. Bring the Filari girls to me, and you live. Refuse, and you all die." Michael froze. This wasn't just random bounty hunters. Whoever this was, they knew his name. Lena's ears flattened, her tail curling close. Sari's golden eyes narrowed. "I know that voice," she whispered. Michael looked at them sharply. "Who is it?" They exchanged a quick glance but said nothing. The voice returned, darker than before. "You have one cycle to decide." The transmission cut off, leaving only the hum of the engines. Michael stared at the girls, still on opposite sides of the room, still enemies. But now they shared the same fear. This wasn't over, and deep down, he knew things were only going to get more dangerous. The Silver Hawk floated in the purple haze of the nebula. Its hull was quiet now, but Michael could feel the tension inside the ship like static in the air. He leaned back in the pilot's chair, staring at the dark screen where the enemy signal had vanished. He didn't trust the silence. Predators didn't just give up. They circled. They waited. Lena sat in the co-pilot's seat, her silver hair glowing faintly in the nebula light. Her ears twitched every few seconds, as if she could hear danger coming through the void. Sari stood behind them, arms crossed, golden eyes locked on the navigation display. Both were tense, but still kept their distance from each other. Michael broke the silence. "We need to move before they find us again." Lena shook her head. "If we leave too soon, they'll catch our trail." Sari smirked. "And if we stay too long, they'll track us by the nebula's energy shift." They started arguing again, their voices low but sharp. Michael turned in his seat. "We don't have time for this pick one plan." Now, before either could reply, the ship's warning system blared. "Incoming energy spike rear quadrant," the AI announced. Michael's heart sank. "They found us," he muttered, his hands flying over the controls. On the rear camera, the black ship emerged from the purple clouds, moving fast. Its front lights glowed like the eyes of some hunting beast. The enemy ship fired first, a beam of plasma streaking past the Silver Hawk. The blast shook the hull, rattling every loose panel. "Shields at 70%, Sari called out, rushing to the console. Michael banked the ship hard to the left, dodging another shot. Lena gripped the controls with him, her reflexes keeping them just ahead of the enemy fire. They weaved through thick clouds of gas, the nebula's colors swirling around them. But the enemy matched their every move. "They're faster," Lena said through gritted teeth. Sari appeared beside her, pointing at the navigation screen. "Not faster, smarter. They're predicting our path." Michael's mind raced. He had to think like prey that could still bite back. "All right, We're going to the edge of the nebula, he decided. Lena frowned. They'll see us the moment we clear the gas. Exactly, Michael said, a plan forming in his head. They pushed forward, the Silver Hawk's engines screaming as they neared the outer rim. The enemy closed in, now only seconds behind. Suddenly, Michael cut the main thrusters. The ship jolted violently, the girls grabbing onto whatever they could. The enemy, not expecting the sudden drop in speed, shot past them. Michael slammed the engines back to full, swinging the ship around to chase them instead. Lena's eyes widened. You're turning the hunt. Only for a moment, Michael replied. Sari grinned for the first time since boarding. I like this human, she muttered. But the enemy recovered quickly, flipping their sleek ship to face them again. 2 plasma blasts lit up the darkness, one grazing the Silver Hawk's wing, shields at 45. Sari shouted, her hands moving furiously to reroute power. Michael dove toward a massive asteroid belt just beyond the nebula. Chunks of rock the size of buildings drifted slowly in the black void. Lena looked doubtful. We'll be crushed in there. Only if we fly slow, Michael said. Threading the ship between spinning boulders, the enemy followed, their black ship sliding through gaps with deadly precision. The chase became a deadly dance, engines roaring, rocks spinning past within meters. A small asteroid clipped there. Rear panel, shaking the ship violently. Michael's controls flashed red damage to the starboard thruster. Hold it together. He growled, sweat dripping down his temple. Lena suddenly pointed at a cluster of asteroids ahead. There 2 of them are moving toward each other, like a closing door. Michael understood instantly. He dove toward the gap, engines straining. The enemy followed, closing in for the kill. At the last second, Michael rolled the Silver Hawk sideways, slipping through the gap just before the asteroids slammed together. The enemy tried to follow, but one wing of their ship scraped against the rock, sending them spinning. They're hit. Sari shouted. Michael didn't wait to see if they recovered. He pushed the Silver Hawk into a sharp climb, leaving the asteroid belt behind. The radar showed no sign of pursuit, but he knew this wasn't the end. Whoever they were, they would keep coming. As the adrenaline faded, Michael finally looked at Lena and Sari. They were breathing hard, their hair messy, but their eyes still burning with rivalry. You both did good back there, he said. Lena gave a short nod. We survived because of me. Sari rolled her eyes. No, because I kept the shields from dying. Michael sighed, leaning back in his chair. You 2 are going to be the death of me, he muttered. But deep down, he knew they were more than just trouble. They were a mystery. And that mystery was pulling him into something far bigger than a chase. The ship's console beeped, breaking the brief calm. A new message appeared on the screen, encrypted and marked with a Filari crest. Michael glanced at the girls. They both froze, their ears lowering. The message simply read, We know where you are. One of you must return. The human chooses. Michael felt the air in the cabin grow heavier. Neither Lena nor Sari spoke, but both looked at him with an intensity that made his chest tighten. The chase was over for now, but the real hunt had just begun. The Silver Hawk floated in the quiet black of space. For the first time in hours, there were no alarms, no plasma fire, no enemy ships in sight. But inside, the air felt heavy, thick with unspoken words. Michael sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the encrypted Filari message on the console. One of you must return. The human chooses. He turned his eyes to the 2 girls. Lena stood near the cockpit doorway, her silver hair falling over one shoulder, ears lowered but eyes sharp. Sari leaned against the wall, arms crossed, golden eyes glinting like a challenge. They were silent, but their bodies told a story, tense muscles, flicking tails, and a readiness to strike. Michael broke the silence. All right, time to talk, both of you. Neither moved. I'm not playing games anymore, he said firmly. That message proves someone out there knows you, and they're giving me an ultimatum. Lena's ears twitched, but she kept her gaze fixed on the floor. Sari smirked faintly. But it wasn't the playful kind, it was bitter. You want truth, human? Sari finally said, her voice low. Fine. I'll start. She stepped forward, her tail curling close to her body. Once Lena and I were not enemies. We were rivals, she said, spitting out the last word. Michael frowned. Rivals for what? Lena finally looked up, her blue eyes cold. For him, she said quietly. Michael blinked, confused. For who? Sari's lips curved into something between a smile and a snarl. Your brother. The words hit Michael like a punch. My brother? You mean Daniel? He asked. Lena nodded slowly. Daniel Cross. The human diplomat sent to the Filari homeworld years ago. Michael's mind flashed back. Daniel had been sent on a long-term peace mission. And the last Michael heard, he had died in an accident. What does this have to do with you two? Michael asked, his voice harder than before. Lena took a step closer, her voice gaining strength. The Filari Council has an ancient custom. Every human diplomat is offered a chosen bond. A single partner from the royal bloodlines, Sari added sharply, but Daniel was different. He refused to choose quickly. He spent time with both of us. Lena's tail flicked. He was meant to choose me. Sari's ears tilted forward. He was leaning toward me. Michael rubbed his forehead. So you hated each other because my brother wouldn't pick? That's not all, Lena said, her voice dropping lower. When Daniel died, we were blamed. Sari's golden eyes darkened. The council said we distracted him from his duties, caused him to be in the wrong place when the attack came. Michael's jaw tightened. Attack? Lena nodded. An assassination attempt on the council. Daniel shielded one of them and was killed instead. For a moment, the cabin was silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. Michael felt a knot forming in his chest. He had never known the details of his brother's death. Now hearing it from them, it made him feel both proud and hollow. So why are you being hunted now? Michael asked. Sari's voice turned bitter again. Because the council wanted to erase the shame. We were exiled. But some would rather see us dead than let us live freely. And that's who's chasing us? Michael guessed. Lena nodded once. Yes. And now they've decided to make you choose which one survives. Michael leaned back, letting out a slow breath. This is insane. He muttered. I'm not choosing either of you to die. Sari tilted her head. Then you choose for both of us to die. Because that's what will happen if you don't play their game. Lena's voice softened slightly. They will keep coming, Michael. You can't protect both forever. The words hung in the air like a shadow. Michael looked at them, both two beautiful, dangerous, stubborn beings who had been rivals. Then enemies, now unwilling allies. He could see why they hated each other. But he could also see the pain in their eyes. Beneath all the sharp words and cold stares, they were survivors like him. The come light blinked again. Breaking his thoughts, another message appeared. This time with a timer counting down from 10 hours. Michael didn't even open it. We've got time before they expect an answer, he said. Sari narrowed her eyes. You're planning something. Michael gave a faint smile. You're right. But I can't do it without both of you. Lena tilted her head slightly. What do you need us to do? Michael's voice hardened. I need you to stop trying to kill each other for one day. Think you can manage that? Both girls exchanged a long glare. Finally, Lena looked away first, muttering, for one day. Sari smirked faintly. I can play nice. For now, Michael stood, moving toward the navigation controls. If the Filari want me to choose, then fine, we'll make them think I have, he said. Lena's ears flicked forward. A trick? A trap, Michael corrected. One they won't see coming. The plan wasn't ready yet. But Michael knew one thing for certain. If the Filari Council thought they could use him like a pawn, they were in for a surprise. And maybe, just maybe, Lena and Sari would learn that surviving together was the only choice that mattered. Far outside the Silver Hawk, in the cold emptiness of space, the black enemy ship drifted silently. Inside, A figure cloaked in silver armor watched their every move on a holographic display. His voice was low and certain. "Soon, Michael Cross. You will choose." The silver hawk floated above a barren moon. Its surface below was cracked and lifeless, a dry wasteland with no sign of life. Michael had chosen this place because there were no settlements, no patrols, no curious eyes, just open space for miles. But he knew it wouldn't stay quiet for long. Lena stood at the co-pilot's seat, arms folded, her silver hair catching the dim light from the console. Sari leaned against the doorway, her golden eyes fixed on the radar. The tension between them hadn't faded, but since the last conversation, they hadn't tried to claw each other apart. For now, the real enemy was out there. Michael watched the timer on the Filari transmission screen. 2 hours, 14 minutes left. He hated every second of it, being forced into a decision that would destroy one life to save another. And worse, they wanted him to play along. Any sign of them yet? Michael asked without looking away from the console. Sari shook her head. "No, but they'll come." Lena's ears twitched. "They always do." The ship's sensors suddenly pinged. A massive object was entering the moon's orbit. Michael's stomach tightened as a Filari warship slid into view. Sleek dark silver plating, long blade-like wings, and glowing blue markings that pulsed like veins. It dwarfed the Silver Hawk, easily 10 times its size. The comm system activated on its own, the deep voice from before filling the cabin. "Michael Cross, you have reached the appointed place," the voice said, smooth but sharp. "Now, you will fulfill your duty." Michael glanced at the girls, both standing rigid. He spoke into the comm. "I'm not handing over anyone." There was a pause, then a quiet chuckle from the other side. "You misunderstand. You must choose. One returns to us. One remains with you. The other will not survive the journey home." Sari's tail lashed sharply. "Cowards," she hissed under her breath. Lena's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Michael kept his voice steady. "And if I refuse?" The reply came instantly. "Then all 3 of you will die where you stand." A flash of light filled the cockpit window as the warship powered up its main weapon. The energy beam wasn't firing yet, but it was ready. Michael felt the heat rising in his chest, anger mixing with the sharp edge of fear. "Why?" he demanded. "Why force this? Why not take both if you're so powerful?" The voice was colder now, because the Filari honor is not about power, it is about choice. Your brother failed to choose. You will not repeat his mistake. Lena stepped forward suddenly, speaking directly to the comm. "I will go," she said. Her voice even. Sari's head snapped toward her. "What?" Lena didn't look at her. "If it means the other lives." "I will go." Michael turned sharply. "No, that's not how this works." Sari crossed her arms. "Good, because I wasn't planning to go anywhere." Michael glared at both of them. "Stop, you're not making this easier." The warship's captain spoke again. "You have 1 hour to decide. After that, your ship will be destroyed." The transmission cut off, leaving only the sound of the Silver Hawk systems humming quietly. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Michael stood, pacing across the cabin. His mind was spinning, fighting. The warship head-on was suicide. Running wasn't possible with their sensors locked on him. The only way to survive was to make them believe he was following the rules. Finally, he turned to the girls. "Listen, I'm going to pick one of you. At least that's what they'll think." Lena's ears tilted forward. "A trick?" Michael nodded. "A handover they don't see coming." Sari smirked faintly. "This could be fun." They gathered around the small table in the galley. Michael sketching the plan on a datapad. He would walk toward the warship's airlock with one girl, making it appear she was the chosen one. The other would slip into the warship's docking port from a hidden vent, using the Silver Hawk's small escape pod. Once inside, she would disable their targeting systems long enough for Michael and the chosen girl to break free. It was risky. If either of them got caught, it would be over. Lena studied the datapad. "You're asking one of us to sneak into a Filari warship. Alone, Michael nodded. Yes, and it's the only way all three of us make it out alive. Sari leaned back, a grin playing at her lips. I'll do it. They won't expect me. Lena narrowed her eyes. You just want the glory. Better than letting you mess it up, Sari shot back. Michael slammed his hand on the table. Enough. This isn't about winning. This is about surviving. Both girls fell silent, though the heat between them still burned. The hour passed quickly, the timer flashing red on the console. The warship hailed them again. Time's up, human. Make your choice. Michael's voice was steady. I've chosen. Lena and Sari exchanged one last tense glance. Then, without another word, they moved into position. Michael's heart pounded as the Silver Hawk docked with the massive warship. The airlock opened with a hiss, revealing a long, polished corridor lined with armed Filari guards. He stepped forward with one girl at his side, her head lowered, tail still, playing the part of the surrendered. Somewhere, unseen, the other girl was already slipping into the shadows, heading toward the heart of the enemy ship, the captain's. Voice echoed down the corridor. Wise choice, Michael Cross. But we will see if you have the strength to live with it. Michael didn't answer, because if his plan worked, the Filari captain would never see the ending coming. Asterisk. The air inside the Filari warship was heavy and warm. Michael felt it cling to his skin as he stepped through the airlock. The corridor ahead gleamed with polished metal, each wall lined with armored Filari guards holding long, spear-like weapons that glowed faintly at the tips. Their eyes followed every step he took. At his side walked Lena, her silver hair falling like a curtain over her lowered face, ears pulled back, tail still playing her role perfectly, far away. Hidden in the shadows of the docking vent, Sari moved silently, her golden eyes adjusted to the dim maintenance tunnel. She crawled forward, careful not to make a sound, her tail wrapped tightly around her waist to avoid brushing the walls. Michael's plan was simple in words but deadly in execution. He would walk the chosen girl into the captain's hands while the others slipped inside to sabotage their targeting systems. If either failed, all three would die. The captain appeared at the end of the corridor, tall, draped in ceremonial silver armor, his long ears tipped with golden rings. He smiled faintly, but his eyes were cold. So, you have chosen. His voice was smooth but carried the weight of command. Michael kept his tone steady. You wanted one of them back. Here she is. Lena stayed silent, her gaze fixed on the floor. It was an act, but Michael could feel the tension in her hand as it brushed his arm. She was ready to move if things went wrong. Meanwhile, Sari had reached a small hatch marked with glowing symbols. She pulled a tool from the pouch on her belt and carefully pried it open. Inside was a control panel humming with energy. Her claws worked fast, slicing through the protective seals. She had maybe 3 minutes before the ship's internal sensors noticed an unauthorized access. Back in the corridor, the captain stepped closer to Michael and Lena. You have done what your brother could not, the captain said, his voice calm but with a mocking edge. Michael felt his jaw tighten. My brother didn't play your games. Your brother was weak, the captain replied. And his weakness cost him his life. Michael's hands curled into fists, but he forced himself to stay still. He needed to buy time for Sari. The guards stepped aside as the captain gestured toward a large set of doors. Bring her, he said, turning his back on them. Michael hesitated for a split second. He didn't like the idea of going deeper into the ship, but leaving now would give them away, so he followed. Sari worked quickly, pulling wires free and connecting her portable disruptor device. The small screen blinked as the device linked with the warship's targeting system. Come on, come on, she whispered. Her ears twitched somewhere down the tunnel. Soft metallic footsteps were getting closer. They had found her. The captain led Michael and Lena into a vast chamber. The walls were lined with glowing banners displaying the Filari crest. In the center stood a raised platform with a single seat ornate, carved with gold and silver patterns. The captain turned, smiling. The chosen will be honored here before she returns home. Michael kept his voice neutral. And the other? The captain's smile widened. The other will be hunted until the stars themselves forget her name. Lena's tail flicked once, a small silent signal to Michael that she was still ready. He only gave the slightest nod in return, but inside, his heart was pounding. Every second here was dangerous. If Sari failed to take down their weapons, escape would be impossible. Sari's disruptor beeped softly. Connection complete. She typed in the override code Michael had given her. The screen flashed green. Targeting system disabled. 90 seconds. That was all the time they would have before the warship's engineers restored control. The footsteps behind her grew louder. Sari hissed under her breath, pulling the disruptor free and shoving it into her pouch. She darted into a side tunnel just as two guards appeared at the hatch she'd been working on. They shouted, but she was already gone. Moving fast toward the docking bay, in the chamber, Michael took a slow step toward the captain. "You talk about honor," he said. "But this is just cruelty." The captain tilted his head. "It is justice." Michael's hand tightened on Lena's arm. "Now," he whispered. Lena's ears snapped forward, and in a blur of motion, she kicked one guard's weapon away. Michael lunged at the second, shoving him backward. The captain shouted for reinforcements, but Michael and Lena were already moving for the exit. The alarms began blaring through the ship. Sari's sabotage had been detected. Sari burst out of a side corridor ahead of them. "Systems are down, move," she shouted. Michael didn't need telling twice. They sprinted through the corridors, the warship's lights flashing red, guards closing in from both sides. But without targeting systems, the warship couldn't fire on the Silverhawk once. They undocked. They reached the docking bay, the airlock already open. Michael shoved both girls inside the Silverhawk and slammed the controls. The ship detached with a jolt, drifting clear of the warship's docking port. Through the cockpit window, Michael saw the captain standing at the edge of the bay, his golden-ringed ears glinting in the light. He was smiling, not with defeat, but with promise. "This isn't over," Michael muttered under his breath. As the Silverhawk's engines roared to life, Lena slumped into the co-pilot's seat. Sari leaned against the wall, breathing hard. For once, they didn't glare at each other. They just sat there, silent, alive, and still side by side. But Michael knew better than to think the danger had passed. The Filari didn't forgive, and the next time they came, they wouldn't make the mistake of underestimating him. The Silverhawk tore away from the Filari warship. Its engines burned bright in the blackness, leaving trails of light as Michael pushed them to maximum. Inside the cockpit, the hum of the engines filled the silence. No one spoke, not Lena, not Sari, not even Michael. They were still catching their breath, still feeling the weight of what they had just escaped. The warship grew smaller in the rear camera, but Michael didn't slow down. "They'll follow," Lena said quietly. Michael nodded. "I know. That's why we keep moving." Sari leaned against the wall, arms crossed, her golden eyes fixed on the rear monitor. "They'll want revenge now," she said. "They already did," Michael replied. But they failed. For a while, only the sound of the ship's controls filled the air. Then Michael glanced between the two girls. "We need to talk," he said. Both looked at him cautiously. "I didn't save you so you could go back to hating each other the second we're out of danger." Lena's ears lowered slightly. "We're Filari. We don't forget grudges." Sari smirked faintly. "And we don't share." Michael sighed. "Then maybe it's time to be something else, not rivals, not enemies, but survivors." They didn't answer right away, but there was something in their eyes, something softer than before. Maybe it was respect, or maybe just the shared understanding that they'd both fought to keep each other alive. The ship's alarm beeped suddenly. Michael's heart tightened, but it wasn't a threat. It was the navigation system confirming they had reached the coordinates he'd set earlier. A small, uncharted asteroid field floated ahead, lit by the glow of a nearby star. "This is where we disappear for a while," Michael said. guiding the Silver Hawk between the drifting rocks. Lena looked around. No one will find us here? Not unless they know exactly where to look, Michael replied. The ship slid behind a massive asteroid, its surface jagged like broken teeth, and settled into a shadowed pocket. For the first time since they'd met, Michael powered down the main engines. The hum faded, replaced by a deep stillness. He stood and faced them both. Now we decide what happens next. Sari tilted her head. You mean, who you keep? Lena's tail flicked in irritation. We both know how that would end. Michael shook his head. No, I'm not choosing between you, not like that. They stared at him, confused. Michael stepped closer, looking them both in the eyes. You're both staying with me. If the Falari want to take you, they'll have to go through me first. For a moment, there was silence. Then Lena spoke softly. That's not how it works. Sari gave a short laugh. Maybe not for Falari, but it works for humans apparently. Michael's expression hardened. I'm not my brother. I'm not playing their game. And I'm sure as hell not letting them decide your lives for you. His words carried a weight that silenced them both. Lena looked down, her ears twitching. Sari glanced away, but there was a small smile on her lips. Maybe they didn't want to admit it, but they were glad. The moment was cut short by a faint beep from the com. Michael checked the screen. It was a wide broadcast message. Unencrypted, the Falari captain's voice filled the cabin. Michael Cross. You have made your choice. You think you have won. But the Falari never forget. You are marked now, and so are your companions. Run while you can. We will find you. The transmission ended, leaving a cold silence behind. Lena met Michael's eyes. He means it. Sari smirked. Let them try. Michael didn't smile, but there was a glint in his eyes. They'll come for us. And we'll be ready. He sat back in the pilot's chair, setting a new course not away from the Falari, but toward a small system he knew well. A place where he could find allies, resources, and maybe answers about why they wanted these two so badly. Lena stepped forward, her voice low. Michael, why are you doing this? You could have left us. You could have walked away. Michael glanced at her. Because my brother died protecting someone he believed in. I'm not letting his sacrifice mean nothing. Sari tilted her head. You think we're worth that? Michael's voice was steady. I know you are. For the first time, Lena and Sari looked at each other without pure hostility. It wasn't friendship, not yet, but there was something new. A truce, fragile, but real. The Silver Hawk's engines hummed back to life. The asteroid shadows slipped away as the ship glided into open space. Michael kept his eyes on the stars ahead. He didn't know how long they could stay ahead of the Falari, but he knew one thing for certain: he wasn't giving them up. Lena stood at his right, Sari at his left, three very different lives bound. Now by choice, danger, and something even stronger, the refusal to bow to anyone else's rules. The stars stretched before them, endless and full of promise, and somewhere out there, the Falari warship was already plotting their next move. Michael smiled faintly. Let them come, he said quietly. We'll make them regret it. And with that, the Silver Hawk jumped to light speed, three silhouettes standing together. Against the glow, no longer enemies, no longer alone, just survivors ready for whatever came next.